Welcome to Daily Armour. I don't have a specific verse today. I actually have like several verses. We're going to be talking about lots of heart conditions today, and we're going to find those in Exodus chapter 35. And I'm just going to read verse number 5 to get us started, and then we'll go from there. So Exodus 35 says, "Take ye from among you an offering unto the Lord, whosoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it, an offering of the Lord, gold and silver and brass." So here we are. God is asking for offerings, but he's asking them from those with a willing heart, those that are willing to give. And my question today for us is, what are we willing to do for the Lord? What are we willing to sacrifice? What are we willing to get involved in? What are we willing to try? What are we willing to do for the Lord? This is the month of Valentine's Day, and he has already showed his love toward us. He did that for over Christmas, over Easter, while we celebrate December and Christmas, because that's when he actually sent Jesus to be here with us, to dwell among us. And then we know that we celebrate Easter because the whole mission behind coming was to die on the cross for our sins. But he's not in the tomb. He is risen, and he is in heaven making intercession for me and for you. And we are responding, once we're saved, to his love, that he showed his love to us first. And we respond in love. Our love is in response to him, and to his making the first move. And here the Lord is asking, if you look at verse number 1, it says, "And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, These are the words which the Lord hath commanded, that ye should do them." So the Lord's sending out, he's got some instructions, and then he's asking for those that are willing, and he's got a whole list here. It's really be good for you to read this whole chapter. Read every little detail. Don't get caught up in the list of things, but look at the list of things, as there are so many things that need to be done. There is so many things that there's things that you're able to participate in, that you don't have to sit around with nothing to do. You don't have to be lonely. You don't have to feel excluded. You can be involved. You can get excited because God's got something specific that you can do. And no matter if it's something that you consider that's big or you consider that's small, God said every one of these positions, every one of these items are vitally important to what he wants. And I'm vitally important. Whatever I have to offer and to give, whatever you have to offer and to give, it's vitally important to the work of the Lord. And if you are not willing, he's going to use somebody who is willing. So we can get excited that God has a plan for me, and he has a plan for you, and all he is asking is for you to be willing. And I want us to notice on down into verse number 21. And it says, "And they came, every one whose heart stirred him up, and every one of whom his spirit made willing. They brought the Lord's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all his service, and for the holy garment." So he had so many things going on. And it says that there was some stirred hearts. Some people's hearts was stirred up. So here we've got the congregation of Israel. Everybody's out there. Moses is speaking. He says, this is from the Lord. The Lord is asking for willing hearts. And then those willing hearts are stirred hearts. They become stirred hearts, because then that's when you and I can get excited. We can get stirred up, where we can be like, Lord, I want to do it. Lord, I don't know what I have, but Lord, whatever it is, I'm willing to do it. So there were some stirred hearts, and there was some excited people. And it's exciting to serve the Lord. It's exciting to give. And even when you don't think you have anything to give, and then you find out, hey, I had that little something, and that little something does make a difference, because God has that, is asking me to offer that. He's asking me to be willing, and I'm willing. And if he's asking for it, then it must be important. And not that we're thinking that we're so important, but He thinks we are. We're important to Him, and what we have to give is important to Him. And so we ought to be excited. And so we see here in verse number 21 that there was some stirred hearts that were responding to the request. And then it says, of everyone whom His Spirit made willing. So here they're stirred up and they're willing, and they brought the Lord's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all His service, and for the holy garments. Every position was getting filled. Every job was going to get done. Everything that the Lord had listed, small items, big items, everything was going to be getting done. Everybody was getting excited. Those that were willing got stirred up. It's just to be willing, just to say, Lord, I'm willing, but I don't really know what I have. I'm willing, but I'm not really that smart. I'm willing, but I'm very limited on what I can do. And He's saying He can work with somebody who's willing. It's those that are saying, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to, I don't know how to do that. I better save this gold and this silver for later. Those that are not willing, He can't do much with us when we're not willing. It's those that are willing and get stirred. And it says in verse number 22, and I want you to notice that this is not just for the men. The men need to step up. The men definitely need to step up. They need to lead. They need to, there's so many things that they are so good at, but women are just as good at things. Women are, us ladies, we have such important jobs and such important duties, and there's so many things that we are able to do, so many ways. And God, He's viewing us all together. It's for the men and the women, He's not just speaking to the men, He's speaking to the women. So there's some women that were saying, Lord, I'm willing. There's some women that got their hearts stirred, and that they were giving. So look here in verse number 22, it says, and they came both, men and women, as many as were willing hearted. See, again, He's reiterating several times in this chapter 35. The Lord is speaking through Moses. The Lord is telling Moses, tell them, remind them. It's those that are willing, those that are willing, those that are willing. And as many as were willing hearted. See that willing heart. And brought bracelets and earrings and rings and tablets and all jewels of gold. And every man that offered an offering of gold unto the Lord. It was so exciting. It was an exciting time. God had something He wanted them to get prepared, and He was looking for everybody. Look here in verse number 25. And all the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands, and brought that which they had spun, both of blue and of purple and of scarlet and of fine linen. And all the women whose hearts stirred them up in wisdom spun goat's hair. It's just so many things that the women were able to participate in, and they got to be excited, and the men and the women were working together, and everything was getting done. And man, what a difference would it make in our homes, in our churches, in our community, if the men and the women were willing and were stirred up and were working together. And just what a vastness of things that everybody could be participating in and be included, and have joy and fulfillment, and know that we are part of God's work. So where are those willing hearts? Where are those stirred hearts? And then that was something that sometimes we have the excuse of, well, Lord, I don't know how to do that. Lord, I'm willing, but I don't know how. And Lord, I'm too old to learn something new. Well, I can testify that I'm not too old to learn something new. I don't know how many songs that I'm able to play on the piano, maybe 10, maybe more. I'm not sure. Some I'm kind of close. Some I've just got to get my fingers to relax and quit hitting the wrong note. So I'm telling you that at 50 years old, I have spent the last 2 years really, and really, the Lord was really wanting me to do this a long time ago, and I kept pecking at it, and I kept trying, and I was having a hard time, and I was struggling, and I've just slowly just been pecking at it. And but then the last 2 years with everything, being home more, I've had way more time to be able to work on that. And maybe, my fingers get tired, so about 15-30 minutes somewhere through there, working on the piano. And I'm not skilled at it yet, but I am willing to use what God has already showed me. And what I'm wanting to get to is that if we're willing and our hearts are stirred up, then He's going to give us that ability to do what He wants us to do. That specific thing. I go back to when we were first at Laurel Hill Baptist Church, when Todd was first pastoring. And I don't know how long we'd been there. And one day, one of the ladies at church said, Miss Teresa said, "You've got a beautiful voice." And I said, "No, I don't either. I can't half sing." And I was just shocked that somebody would think that I could sing. And I mean, absolutely shocked that somebody would think that. And she said, "You've got a song. God's gonna give you a song." And I just kind of pondered that, and thought about that. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know that I can sing. I've never been able to sing. I've just like my range is very, very tiny. When we're singing with the congregation, then it would if it gets too high, then I'd have to drop it lower and stuff. And so I was just like, I can't do this. And then I was just like, pondering on that for a while, and thinking about that. And every once in a while there would be a song that would come on the radio, and I'm like, oh, that's a good song, and I wished I could sing that song. And then one day I was standing in the kitchen, and I had the radio on, and there was a song that came on, and I knew when I heard the song that was a song God wanted me to sing. I knew He wanted me to sing that song. Now, whether He wanted me to sing it before in front of church at that moment, I didn't know, but I knew it was a song that really, really said what was going on in my life at that time. And I was willing, and the Lord stirred me up that I was to sing this song. And I didn't just ponder on it, but I took action. And what I did is I went to Lenore. I went to our Bible bookstore up in Lenore, who they had tons of accompaniment music. And I had never done this before. I had never even thought about doing this before. It had never even crossed my mind. But I went to the Bible bookstore up in Lenore, and I was like, Lord, I have no idea if this song is even up there. And I found it. And I brought it home, and and it had like 3 different keys, and I found a key that I actually could do it in. And I practiced, 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 and I practiced. I mean, over and over. I probably worked on this song for 2 months. And then one Sunday, I knew I was supposed to sing it. And I was terrified. I mean, absolutely terrified. This was so not something that I thought I was ever able to do. But God gave me a song. And He gave me a burden. He stirred up my heart. And I was willing. I was willing to take the next step. And that was go get some music. And then the next step was practice and work on it and work on it and work on it, and try to hear when you're supposed to come in, because I was working with the tape. Try to hear when you're supposed to come in. And I was just terrified. And then I knew that Sunday morning when I was supposed to sing, that God was telling me today's the day for you to offer what I've given you. And what I'm telling us is that He gives us those abilities. He gives it to us. I want you to look at, go back into Exodus chapter 28. I've got a couple of verses I want us to look at. Exodus chapter 28 and verse number 3. 28 and verse number 3, and it says, And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. All that are wise-hearted, they're wise-hearted because God is giving it to them. So he gives it to us. Let me show you another example. Go to chapter number 31 and look at verse number 6. So there's some things that you're not able to do, and God knows that, but he's going to give it to you. He's going to give it to you. And it says, chapter 31 and verse number 6, and it says, and behold, I have given with him Eloab, the son of Hasamamach, I don't even know how to pronounce this stuff, of the tribe of Dan, and in the hearts of all that are wise-hearted, I have put wisdom, that they may make all that I have commanded thee. God is saying, you're wise because I have given you that wisdom. When we are praying for wisdom, when we have the ability to do something, I can sing. And not because I was able to sing, but God took a willing heart, a stirred heart, and he trained me, he helped me, he taught me, he gave me the wisdom to do that. Now my range is very small, and I probably have a peculiar voice to most. I come off very very bluegrass, I guess. I'm not sure. I get a lot of people telling me that, and I don't even listen to bluegrass. But God give me that. That's what he gave to me. And he gives me other things. When I first went to Laurel Hill Baptist Church, I'd never taught anything. And they were like, Miss Teresa, we need you to teach this Sunday school class. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach. And they're like, the Lord will help you and you will know how to teach. And now it's one of those things that I absolutely love to teach. I love it. And the Lord used it to help me. So in order for me to teach something, I had to learn something. I had to be trained. I had to apply it. I had to put it into practice. I had to go through all this, and then I was able to teach it. So the Sunday school lessons gave me such a good outline for me to study and to be able to learn and soak that up. And then come Sunday morning, I was able to give something to the children that were in my class. And I was getting more out of it than they were probably. I was getting so much help because I was having to work at it. I was having to, read and study and go to this passage and go to that passage. And it was things that I needed to know. And it's things that God has used in my life that I'm still using today. And now when I teach, I have lots of experience because I've been doing it for over 20 years, but it's the experiences in my personal life. It's the experiences that God has brought me through that I had go back, and I needed those lessons. And I've had to apply them to my life. And when I go through things and I'm like, oh, I remember when I taught on that, and God gave me that to use and this to use, and I'll be able to apply that into what's going on in my life right now. It's applicable. So here we have, that God is giving it to us. I really like this verse number 6, where it says, I have put wisdom that they may make all that I have commanded thee. He's saying, I have give it to you. So we can't use that excuse. Well, I don't know how. I was using the excuse that I'm not really gifted in music. That's Hayden. Hayden's the one that God has given such a beautiful gift. And I'm not gifted in that. But I see through now that I'm able to add notes, and I'm like, oh, how did I know to do that? God is giving me that. I'm able to do I'm writing in extra notes that's not in the sheet music that I'm just hearing. God is letting me hear that. And he's given me that ability, and I have so not arrived. I've so not mastered it. But man, it's so exciting. It is so exciting to be able to play song and another song. And then as I'm looking through different sheet music, and I'm like, well, let me just try this one. And I'm like, oh, I did that. I know those notes, and I did that. And I need to practice, and I have to work at it. It's work, but it's an offering to God. And all he is asking for is a willing heart. And then when you get stirred, when your heart gets stirred and you take action on that, he's going to give you the wisdom to do it. He's going to give you the wisdom to do it. He may be asking you to do something you've never thought you would be good at. He may be asking you to do something you never thought you were able to do. Lord, I can't teach that. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm too old to learn that. He's saying, no, you're not. For every man and every woman who has a willing heart and gets stirred up, then God says in verse number 6, I have put wisdom. He has given us that ability, and we can get so excited. So those that are wise-hearted, they're not wise because they're so smart. They're wise because God has given us that. He is giving us those abilities. And when we look at what all the Lord has done, if you go back and you read in chapters number 28, and God was giving those that were of a wise heart. It says verse number 3, and thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. He has filled us with the spirit of wisdom. Not that we have it mastered right that second, but if you're willing, if you're stirred, and you go for it, then along the way, he's given you that wisdom, and okay, well, I can see how this works, and he's given you that in your mind, and he's helping you with your hands and with, or whatever it is, whatever the job is. If you look at in chapter 28, and it's in verse number 4, it says, and these are the garments which they shall make, a breastplate and an ephod and a robe and a broidered coat. These are things that they didn't know how to do, but God is giving them the wisdom to figure it out, to go for it, to offer this to him. He's saying, I'm going to give you the instructions. I'm going to give you the abilities. You're going to have to work for it. It's not like that. It's not magic. It's God. And God is training us, and he is helping us. And those things that you thought you couldn't do. Todd, he's our pastor. He would not even give a book report, an oral book report in school, because he didn't want to speak in front of people, in front of classroom, in front of people that he knew, in front of those that he was, that he has been raised with all his life. He didn't want to give a simple book report, and so he would take a 0. And God made him a preacher, and he preaches to just hundreds, and he's probably preached to 1,000 before. When he's went on some of his mission trip, there's been just hundreds and hundreds of people, and he's preached in front of them. But God gave him that. But he was willing, and then he got stirred, and then he got to work. And God was giving him those. He made him what he is. He is making me what I am. He is making you. He's still working on us. And that should be exciting, because we're never not learning. We're never not moving forward when we're willing, when we have that willing heart and we get stirred up and we go for it. We just one step after the next step. And I've still got lots of steps to learn on the piano, and lots of in other areas. The Lord is helping me with, there's some programs I'm trying to figure out. There's some music, some of the music that I'm trying to, change some keys and get it to not distort the music. And there's so many things that I've never even thought that I would be able to do, that God is helping me one step at a time. Not that I don't have roadblocks, because anything that you do for the Lord, there's going to be something that's going to be a roadblock, and we just have to be patient and wait on the Lord to help us get through that one step at a time. But to take that willing heart and to be involved and get excited and have purpose and fulfillment, and to know that you are making a difference, no matter if it's what part of the job that he wants us to do, we are making a difference. And all we have to have is that willing heart. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.